major baseball news, some of which, and Harold and I were just talking about this, is probably not as big a deal for some as it is for those in the Midwest. Craig Counsell turns coats. He leaves as the Milwaukee Brewers' all-time winningest manager. He goes to the I-94 rival 90 minutes away. This is a huge story in the Midwest. Craig Counsell's going to manage the Cubs, Harold.
Huge story. It just is. And if you look at what the Cubs are saying, they've watched him from a distance. Well, they've watched him right there. They've been watching how he does things. And to go there, I don't think people out east understand. It's a 45-minute drive.
Well, okay.
An hour.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Hour or so. But it's crazy.
Milwaukee has been the little stepbrother, the second city to Chicago, which has the nickname as the second city. Milwaukee's the kid brother. They've always had a little bit of a, these guys, the Cubs fans show up to American Family Field every time there's a
dominate.
Series. They dominate. It's Cubs, Cubs, Cubs. Kenosha's 90 minutes away, or 45 minutes away, but that's a Cubs, like all that. Yeah. And now they lose their manager to the Cubs on a 5-year, $40 million deal. Biggest ever for a manager. I mean, it is a huge story.
And there's a lot here. The other thing that hit me, first thing that hit me was that line right there, line 2, David Ross. What? What happened to David Ross? You know, it's out of nowhere. This guy did a great job.
That's a big part of it, too. I'm glad you bring that up, because do you know how many less games the Cubs won as compared to the National League champion Arizona Diamondbacks? One fewer victory than the Diamondbacks, but Rossi's out after 4 years. And I'll say this for Rossi, too. You know, again, like when there are expectations in a big market like Chicago, I understand the stuff that happens out of our control. When you talk to David Ross about his personnel, he gives you chapter and verse, everything you could have ever wanted, biographically, tendency-wise, scouting-wise, plus, minus. There's no manager more in tune with his own personnel than David Ross, and you can't say that about every manager. You and I both had conversations with managers over the years who don't seem to be that familiar with some of their roster.
Right.
You can't say that about Rossi, and I don't, you know, I get it,
well, they overachieved, believe it or not. You didn't know what Bellinger was going to do. Remember the year he was coming off of? You have to, as a manager, one, put guys in the right situation. You got to massage them. You got to talk to them. You got to build them up. He knew what he was getting in Bellinger, but Bellinger didn't know exactly what he was going to do. You know what I mean? So that's a conversation all year. He had injuries. He had to put him back in the right situation. You have young players that came on this year. He did a great job. I thought it was his best job in 4 years.
Well, he's now a candidate to manage the Houston Astros or the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
Because he's out there now. And, you know, look, if we rewind as recently as 24 hours ago, Ronnie Darling was here for you yesterday, and I was getting texts from people in Milwaukee saying, hey, it's not over for Counsell yet. There's a real good chance he's back here on a new deal. They thought they had a chance to get him back as recently as yesterday morning. Instead, he goes to the Cubs.
Well, the hurt of it and the sting of it is it came out of nowhere. I mean, the Cubs did a masterful job. I got to give them credit, too. This was never leaked in this sport. With all the media, all these guys chirping all the time, it was not heard anywhere till, boom, it's done.
Native Wisconsinite, a guy whose dad used to sell season tickets. He was a senior VP with the Brewers back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, this guy's DNA is all over America's Dairyland. He is the guy for this franchise. And that sounded weird, huh? His DNA is all over America. Sorry about that. Take that out. But, man, what I'm saying is he is a part of the fabric of that franchise history for these reasons. And now he's going to the rival Chicago Cubs. It is huge.
And I think the Cubs are on an uptick. I think they're on a Texas Rangers trajectory where they're going to invest in players. They're going to take off. They got their manager. They spent a lot of money for Craig Counsell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. I don't have a problem with that at all. For the money, for the manager, where managers should be at, and what they're going to do and what he's going to do and their value, I love that part.
And the writers missed it.
It makes the writers look bad. I think it does.
There we
Yes,
go.
It does. They missed it.
We missed, because we just did 7 minutes on this story because it's huge. Stephen Vogt, I want to get your reaction to the new manager in Cleveland as well.
What was interesting is Stephen was here, what, a year ago?
Right when he had retired as a player.
Yeah, came in, and he would come periodically as a player. And we had discussed, what do you want to do? You know, you always ask guys that. He goes, I want to manage. Okay, well, what are you going to do to get there? And he ended up taking a job to go coach. He didn't necessarily want to have to do that. He thought he was ready the minute he walked off the field to manage. So he knew what his capabilities was. He knew who he was, and he knows who he is. So I think that's why he was able to go into Cleveland, sit down with those guys, and say, I'm ready for the job.
Well, he looks managerish there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
As the quality control.
But what I find interesting, he's been managing games now as a player for a number of years. And when I talk to former guys like way back with Don Baylor or Dusty or even Buck Showalter, when did you know you wanted to manage? And they had guys along the way that said, hey, you got to start looking at the game a little bit differently. And as a player, you manage the game anyway. But if you're a guy like Steven who part-time, I know when I'm going to be in, he's managing the pitching, he's catching guys, he's doing all these things. He's already been managing games. Now, I'm not saying that's oh, wow, great, he's going to be fantastic in the big leagues. He's got a lot to learn. But I do say he's had a little bit of an upper hand, like a David Ross, to be able to jump from part-time player to manager. I think his transition will be easier than even Aaron Boone, because Aaron Boone is a position player. Catchers are involved in every aspect of the game. So I think they got a little easier move.
Bench coach Rout serving Carlos Mendoza well. He's now the new manager of the New York Mets. We all thought that was going to be Counsell. We thought it was going to be Counsell, or maybe they'd have a big search that would take a long time. I think as soon as they learned that Counsell was going to the Cubs, they had their guy identified, Carlos
And he went the traditional route. You know, he managed in the minor leagues. He went to the bench coach job, transitioned to, hey, my opportunity to manage in the big leagues. I think we're a little surprised because it's the Mets, and he's going to be handling a big payroll for your first job. It's going to be a lot of heat on him, man. Can you imagine having to deal with Joel Sherman after the game and saying, what decision did you make right here and why?
Yeah, man. You're right about that.
We got that full screen built.
Here's the full screen. It's built. That's the coaching note full screen for Carlos Mendoza, the new manager of the New York Mets.